They are connected to some of Pittsburgh's proudest moments, Super Bowl wins, victory parades in this city and around the country. The Rooney name is known and admired. Tonight, Ambassador Dan Rooney and his wife Patricia sit down for a conversation to talk about their own history together, the Steelers franchise, their historic diplomatic service in Ireland, and what's next now that they're back home in the Burgh. Conversation at WQED starts right now. Oh, we're having a good time already here tonight. Good evening, I'm Michael Bartley. Mr. Dan Rooney is known for so many things, perhaps most notably contributions to football, the NFL, to Pittsburgh, and most recently to his country. Tonight, Ambassador Rooney and his wife Patricia are here to talk about Ireland, the Steelers, so much more. Thank you both for being here. Mr. Rooney, I had to invite the boss here.
You sure did.
I'll tell you what, so you're back home after a couple of months. Is it good to be home? Or?
Yeah, it's great to be home. I enjoyed the whole experience, and it was something that you just never planned on, and all of a sudden we got put into this wonderful kind of a life.
See, but I really liked Ireland. I enjoyed it and did a lot of things, and it was great. Now, to be home, sure, but I'll go back someday.
Do you miss it?
Yes, honestly, I do.
In what sense?
Well, strangely enough, I ran the business. I was the ambassador, and I was very active and participated in everything. And I visited all the counties in Ireland. I did everything you could think of.
32 counties.
32
and
counties.
I remember when you were appointed by President Obama, you said you wanted to visit all 32, and you accomplished that.
I did. I said that my role was to increase the great relationship that Ireland has with the United States. And I figured by going to everywhere, every county, having a procedure when I went there with the town hall and things like that, I would hear what they had to say and hear what they thought of America and things like that, and it was great. And I think that we accomplished what we wanted to do.
Patricia Regan Rooney, did you go on every trip as well?
I did. I was very fortunate. That was part of my job there, was to accompany the ambassador. And I found it most interesting because you got to meet different people. We would have educators, we would have children, young children, just from all different walks of life. Get to walk through the different valleys and different roads and in and out of the shops, and it was a great experience.
You know, I know people want to talk about football and all this kind of stuff. We have so much to talk about, but I want to stay with this. It's St. Patrick's Week.
Exactly.
We had a pope elected today. What do you know about him now?
Well, he has a great name, Francis.
Francis,
the
yeah.
first one. He was a Jesuit, and he was an Italian from Argentina. So there's a lot. Seeing him on the television, he looked very active, and being able to. I think he's going to be wonderful.
Were you two like me, as an Irish Catholic guy from Pittsburgh, rooting for the Pittsburgh guys? I guess
Sure
I was.
we were.
I was waiting for Cardinal World to come out or somebody. And
that would have been
O'Malley.
remarkable, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine? Oh, we'd be sitting pretty, wouldn't we? I want to take a look at some pictures. As your work in Ireland, we're reminded by some words from Secretary Clinton. She praised you in terms of what you did. Trade increased with Ireland. You brought the President of the United States to Ireland. We'll take a look at these pictures. Do you remember this day, Patricia? What was this now?
That was one of the schools we visited, and the ambassador would go in and talk, and then young people just loved to come up and meet him personally and talk about different things that were going on and ask questions about, well, how is this done in America? Or do they have this in the United States? And then, of course, you'd have to pose for a picture.
You had to pose for a picture.
Oh yeah,
All
you probably
pictures.
got used to that, I guess.
Yes.
Wow. And Pat, your ancestors are from
County
from
Mayo.
Mayo, right? And here you are in the house. It was a beautiful home, I guess.
Yeah, it was
Beautiful.
lovely.
Yeah.
Do you miss all the staff? And
I do miss the staff.
was breakfast on the table
Yeah.
when you? Huh?
Everything you wanted, they did for you, and they weren't bothersome. They were just lovely people.
And
Did a great
and
job.
how far was the house from the embassy?
It was about a half hour to 40 minutes, but my procedure was that I would go to Mass,
Mm-hmm.
and go to Mass and that was about halfway, so it'd take me about 20 minutes to get to the Whitefriars Church.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Franciscan, but and then I would get, after Mass, I would go to the embassy, and I'd get there at somewhere around 8:30.
The United States ambassador had a driver, right?
I had a driver, and I had two lovely, great people that were the guards.
The security guards?
The security guards. And they
Wow.
were great. They turned out to be like family.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I want to take a look at a picture. One of your greatest achievements. Every U.S. ambassador doesn't have the President of the United States visiting that country
Right.
where they're doing diplomatic service. You did. How did you pull this off?
I talked to him the first time I met him in Pittsburgh. I said, "You got to go to Ireland." He said, "I'll go with you."
Is that right?
Yes. And so we talked many times after that, and he told me that most fun he had was when he went to Ireland.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The president and the first lady tipping a few. That was a Guinness. Where was this?
That was in
Patricia?
his hometown,
That was in
Yeah.
in Moneygall.
Moneygall.
What county is that now?
That's in Laffey.
Laffey. Oh.
Awfully.
Okay.
Awfully.
Awfully. Okay.
Yeah.
He said when he was there, they were drinking, and he said, "We have to get a pint for the ambassador."
Yeah.
So he gave me the pint, and I drank about half of it and gave it to my assistant.
Is that right? Okay, I remember it was CNN, or there was some live coverage, and he was standing there talking to all these people, and he was being mobbed in that bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think as Pittsburgh folks and the Americans are saying, well, where's Mr. Rooney? Where's Mr. Rooney? And then he said, I think he said, let the ambassador in because
Yeah.
this crowd, and you had to
Yeah.
meander through there.
Right. But we had a great time. It started to rain in the town, and the people were lined up from one end, honestly, from one end of the town to the other, about 6 deep.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's shaking hands, he and Michelle were shaking hands, and it started to rain. And I said, "Mr. President, we got to win this bar." I said, "You're getting rain." He said, "No, these are my people. I have to shake." He shook hands with the whole crowd.
And he has Irish ancestry, if I remember.
That was where in that bar is where he met them.
No
They came-
kidding.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
There was they kept records, beautiful records, the Church of England, and one of the ministers had a book with him, and with all the names lodged in, I mean, just perfect records, dates, names, and they had a copy made for the president.
Wow.
But he was just amazed. You know, he just could have stayed with that
Oh,
book.
he
You
loved
could
it.
you could just tell he was so excited.
Yeah.
May I ask you, did he mention anything to you about your work in Ireland?
Oh yeah.
He was
knew-
happy.
He knew what I was doing. He was very happy. One quick story, if you want.
Sure.
They're talking about picking the next ambassador, and the people said, "You know, we really have to pick the right one." Now I'm bragging a little bit. He said, "We really have to pick the right one, because Rooney did such a job." And he said, "Don't worry about it. You can't possibly get someone like that."
Oh, that's beautiful. We're so happy to hear that. What do you suppose your biggest accomplishment was there as U.S. ambassador?
Well, I think that I did accomplish bringing the two countries together. Not that they weren't. When I went there, it was easy for me. Being Rooney, I fit right in and did it all. But I would say the biggest accomplishment was helping with the peace process.
Helping with, because the Good Friday Accords were already in place,
Right.
and your folks are from a border
North.
county.
So we're a border county.
So you were quite
Actually,
familiar
north.
with this deal.
Yes.
And you were one of the co-founders of the American Ireland Funds, which fostered peace and dialogue.
Yes.
So you were very well informed on this whole deal.
From the beginning, and everybody knew that.
Did Secretary Clinton know all that? I'm sure.
Yes, she was wonderful. She was really my boss. Like when you said about the president knew, but she was the one that told me. And we had a little trouble about going to the north. Some people were saying, "Well, you're the ambassador to Ireland, not the north." She said, "You go to the north." And
Wow.
Then she would give me things to do. That I would have to go and talk to the Irish government about differences of opinions and things like that. But she was just marvelous.
We have a couple of pictures of January 9th of this year when you were leaving your diplomatic post, and Secretary Clinton presented you with a flag. Here's that picture
Yes,
here.
yes.
That was a big deal.
Oh, that was big. She was so wonderful, and I just got along so well with her.
And you had some of the folks from the north come to the Republic, come to Dublin as your guests. Is that?
They came down for lunch one time, and we got to know each other and really arranged for them to come to the United States. And then they came for dinner another time, and it worked out really well.
Unbelievable. And here you are. What, did you give her a football?
I gave her the football, and she said, we're keeping this one. And I gave a speech, and she gave a speech. We praised each other. You're talking about me being there for the going to 32 counties. I said at the speech, I said, I really thought I was doing something. I said, until I picked up the paper and saw that you visited 115 countries.
Oh, did she have a job? Wow. Back home, 9 kids, 18 grandchildren, and I don't know why. You were laughing tonight, Patricia. I thought you met in high school. You two met in grade school.
Right. Well, we knew each other in grade school.
Yeah, I didn't talk to her.
I mean, you didn't date in grade
No,
school.
no,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. But we went to the same school in our parish, St. Peter's, Mercy Nuns, and just sort of went all through grade school, and then I knew who he was, he knew who I was, but that's about all there was, till high school.
And then
Till late high school.
Till late high school?
Yeah. She called me and said, would I take her to the prom? And I said, I don't know how to dance. She said, I'll teach you.
I'll teach you.
Did you do it?
Yes, I did,
Did you
because
go
we
to
went
the
to the
prom?
prom.
Oh my!
It was a great evening. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you're both the north side.
North side.
Yes.
And that was a big Irish neighborhood years ago.
Oh yes, very Irish.
All over. One side was Mayo, the other side was Galway.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was really something.
A lot of the Pittsburgh Irish from Galway.
Yes.
Yes.
very
You know,
much.
the Oakland Irish,
Yeah,
all of
Oakland Irish.
They all
were
went
all-
down.
a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, they went to Oakland.
Okay, I told you earlier we have this thing called Twitter and Facebook.
Oh yes.
Huh? Patricia tweets. She
fascinating.
tweets. She knows what this is all about. So the viewers have a couple of questions for you too, and it's St. Patrick's Week, so we thought we'd let them in as well. So let's go into Zach Tanner, who has more from Twitter and Facebook. Zach, what do you have?
Michael, thank you very much. And as you can imagine, when we have guests on like the Rooneys, the reach is just going to be out of this world, and it was. So the first question deals with that reach, and we all know the Steelers in Pittsburgh have international reach. So the first tweeter wants to know, are there any Steelers bars in Ireland, or are there a lot of Steelers fans in Ireland?
Oh, that's a great question.
That is a good
great.
question, and there are many Steeler there, and there was one bar that was a Steeler bar, but you got to remember that being in a pub in Ireland and Dublin particularly is a social event, so they don't let too much else get into the way of having a pint and having a conversation. That's a big thing.
I've been in a few of those Dublin places in my lifetime. You know what's interesting? I remember Patricia seeing you at some point over the holidays or something, and you said, Michael, we like this show on WQED, and I thought, well, how did you see that? You two, didn't you tell me you had one of those boxes or
Sling
something?
box?
Yeah, and you would watch Pittsburgh television.
Pittsburgh
Always did,
television.
yeah. I only watch the football games. which
Is
she
that right?
watched.
Oh, is that right? So, but the Steeler fans, there would be Steeler fans.
Sure, there
Yes,
were many
yeah.
Steeler fans.
And I thought that, you know, I know you're trying to be humble here tonight, but I remember being at the Ashford Castle once, and somebody said, Pittsburgh, and they said, Dan Rooney, and we love the Steelers, blah, blah, blah. You know, the Rooney name travels far in that country. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
very, very much so.
What do you think your father would say about you being, your father and your mother, both of you, about you being so, you know, popular in Ireland and being the United States ambassador to Ireland?
He would have said, I never could believe it. My mother would have been very pleased and happy and proud. And he was too, but he wouldn't admit it. But, you know, they were great times.
Speaking of your father, I have a surprise here for you. I'm on the board for the Catholic Youth Association.
Okay.
And we do the Art Rooney Awards dinner, and there are some
Yeah.
black and white photos that I want you to see. It's the 40th anniversary. The dinner's on April 18th, I believe it
And it's
is.
the 40th anniversary.
It's the 40th anniversary. Mr.
Oh,
Rooney, take a
at
look.
that.
Isn't that something?
Can you believe it? There's Bill Burns, Tom
Yeah.
Forrester, that's Sophie Maslow.
Sophie.
Yeah.
That's
Jim Leland?
Jim Leland.
Jim
Yeah.
Leland, yeah. 40
Yeah.
years over the
Yeah.
years.
That is really some
That's a
picture.
great one, isn't it?
I know. There's an award for Bill Burns, and that's Andy Russell on
Yeah.
the right. There's your dad in the middle. That's Bishop Leonard.
That's
Yes,
Bishop
it is.
Leonard.
It was
yeah.
his good friend.
Vincent Leonard.
Vincent
Yes.
Leonard.
They were good buddies, yeah. There's your dad. And they had it at the Hyatt and then at the William Penn, I believe, over the years. There's the William
throughout
Penn.
the years.
Yeah. This was a something, look at the crowds.
Oh,
We
boy,
still
is that
get
a
big
crowd.
crowds for
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
CYA
it's
dinner.
amazing.
This was something very important to him.
Yes, very much, because they originally started off with having the camp, and they called it the Art Rooney camp, and he said, "Don't call it that, just call it." So they ended up calling the AJ camp.
Wow.
Yeah,
And the Catholic charities were very important to your family.
very
Yes.
important. Mhm.
Yes.
I think that was part of our upbringing and part of what we saw going on in those days.
There's Chuck Knoll,
Yeah.
Bob Prince.
Bob Prince. Yep.
Look at the jacket on Bob the Gunner. Wow. And that, is that to the left of your? Is that Fulton Sheen? No.
It looks like
him,
Isn't that
yeah.
him? But do you
I
remember
would, I would think that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bishop Sheen?
Yes.
From that, this must be 40
That-
years
that-
ago,
Oh,
this
has to
picture,
be,
no
yeah.
doubt. Dan Marino, I went
Dan
to Central
Marino.
Catholic with that guy.
Yep.
Bill
Oh,
Burns with
good.
a white jacket. This brings back memory. Joe Paterno.
Paterno.
Tom Forster, he was a North, was Tom Forster a North Side
Yes.
guy?
North
He was
Side,
North
yeah.
Catholic.
Uh-huh.
North Catholic.
Arnie Palmer,
Arnie. Yep.
amazing.
They had brought
They're
some
great
great
pictures,
people,
yeah.
didn't they?
Aren't these wonderful?
Yeah,
Man.
they're terrific.
And we'll take a look at, wow, that, wasn't
It was real nostalgic.
it, when you look back on the history of your life in Pittsburgh, what do you think of the Steelers? Do you think of family? What
Well, for my part, I think of family
Mm-hmm.
and growing up, and then our children growing up, and just neighborhood. I said we were raised in the most remarkable neighborhood. We had the Catholic Church on one side, we had the police station on the other side, we had the local grocery store on the other side, a family-run store, and then ourselves. I mean, so it was like you had a little bit of everything you needed there.
I
It was
know.
great.
I'll give you I'll take a commercial.
Okay.
I've just written a book called Allegheny City. I co-authored it with a young lady that does great work as far as research concerned. And so she was researching and showing me things, and I said, this would make a great story. I said, a great book. So we wrote a book.
That's great.
Yeah.
It'll be really well received by the
You
people
hope.
that are doing, let's say, looking at the north side. That's what it's all about.
Sure. And you spend a lot of time, the house your father grew up in
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's
is,
where we
is
live.
your house.
That's right.
That's such a Pittsburgh thing too.
It's so
People
great.
staying in,
Yeah.
Right.
never selling a house. I live in the house I grew up in.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
We were on an incline about a year or so ago, and this young family got on, husband, wife, and two adorable children, and they had just moved back to Pittsburgh. He said, I wanted to raise my children in
See,
Pittsburgh.
I
It
know.
was so wonderful.
I love Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
Pittsburgh
have-
is great.
It's the greatest. Okay,
Yeah.
speaking of which, okay, they're crushing me here because the viewers
the
want
Twitters.
these tweeters, these Twitter
Tweeters.
guys, they went in on this. Okay, Zach, go ahead.
All right, we have another question, and you know you can't avoid the topic of the Steelers. Everybody in Pittsburgh, especially on Facebook and Twitter, loves the Steelers. So the next question says, at this point in Ambassador Rooney's career, how much input does he have in running the team and decision-making and day-to-day operations?
Okay, that's a fair question. Yeah. Okay. Are you back in the game here?
Well, really, the way we operate, my son Art is the president. Then we have Kevin Colbert.
Sure.
Kevin Colbert, he's the general manager. And then, of course, Mike Tomlin is the coach. And, everybody makes a big thing out of, like, the draft. And they're saying, well, who makes the final decision? That's Kevin's job, but yet he works at it. And everybody knows what's happening and what the listing of the players in college, and who's going to come out, what positions they are, and things like that. So it works out really well.
But there's a lot going on recently about the Mendenhall and Harrison and all these kind of. Are you involved with all that day-to-day stuff? At
Not
this?
not that much,
Okay.
but they do it, and that's this free agency situation that we have now. And it's good, there are some benefits to the players. There are some negatives to both of us, of how the situation as far as losing players and things like that.
Does Art ever say, "Dad, leave me alone"?
He thinks it. I know.
He never says it. That's right. Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna go right back to Zach. We're trying to get as many questions as we can. Go ahead, Zach.
All right, the next question is, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what do you want your legacy to be? Is the next question. Do they about family or football or philanthropy? And they wanted to say thank you for giving back to the community as well.
That's a good question.
That's excellent.
Patricia.
That's a hard to answer.
I would say, and don't forget, you, Patricia, you're Mrs. Rooney here. You're 20 years at Robert Morris. You taught. Yeah, you're an educator.
And I was a board member of the Salvation Army, and so I still do a lot of community work. So it's hard. I think it's sort of a combination, because I don't know if you call it philanthropy, but I try to give back as much as we can to all of the efforts in this city and all the institutions.
Legacy.
It's really, as Pat said, it's really hard to talk about legacy. I think that the Steelers, winning the Super Bowls and things like that is really a tremendous thing and really great. And, the Steeler Nation just gives us such great support and things like that. That's all good. Going to Ireland was just a great opportunity for me to do something different. And, I get back with the Steelers, so I don't want to say that the Steelers aren't it. Family, yes, I enjoy we just went up last week and saw our grandson, who was having his third birthday, and he was really a tagger. And, so there's a lot of things, as Pat said, but the Steelers in Ireland, maybe, but
a combination.
Yeah.
But even, thinking, excuse me, but even, someone gave me a picture recently of the football team at North Catholic, and just seeing that, seeing friends like Miles Bryan that I knew,
What
Jack
year was that?
O'Malley, 1947.
Wow.
That was interesting.
Unreal.
Yeah.
You were going to say.
Well, I was thinking legacy, the fact that his father founded the Steelers, and he was such a great Pittsburgher, and you saw in those pictures all he's done. Well, that's a true legacy.
He was a legendary man, but you're a legendary man.
Well, the thing that he did, and I hope that I gained a lot from it, is he really enjoyed people. He just related to people so much, and he would talk to everybody, and I would go to airports and I'd say, "Dad, we got to make the plane," because he's talking to everybody. He said, "You run ahead and tell him I'm on the way." Wow.
But Mr. Rooney, in your own right, a lot of people may not. You're an NFL Hall of Famer. You're a Hall of Famer.
Yes, that's a great tribute, really.
Yeah, it's great.
It's incredible. Can I ask you? Do you ever? I've always wanted to ask you this. When the Steelers lose, you know what happens in Pittsburgh, and you know what happens in the bars and the living rooms and all the other places in Pittsburgh. And I'm not just saying Pittsburgh, but around the country. When the Steelers lose on some quirky thing or whatever it is, and you in your mind, we all think they should win every game, blah, blah, blah. Do you get upset, or do you just keep moving?
You keep moving, but you're upset.
I knew that was coming. But do you get animated the next day and start making phone calls? How are we going to do this, do that?
He doesn't.
I don't. Let me say this to you. We've had coaches in the past where I did talk to them every Monday and point out some things that should have happened. But the last three coaches we've had are just so great. I mean, they really are. When you think of Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin, I mean, they're great. And people say, how do you pick these guys that they're winning? They just devote their whole lives and things like that, and they become part of the family, but part of the Pittsburgh feel and things like that. They're also talking about books. They're writing a book about Chuck Noll, and when they talked to me, I said, I really believe this. I think Chuck Noll is one of the top 5 coaches that ever coached in the National Football League.
Absolutely.
I'll take George Halas and I'll take Vince Lombardi. Chuck Noll ranks right in there with with anybody else.
That's part of the Rooney legacy as well. No matter how frustrating a season can be, it's really the aggregate of somebody's work, and you stick with those coaches. No matter and over the years, you stay with them for years and years and years. You had a lot to do with the commissioner getting hired, Roger Goodell.
Yes.
And did it bother you about some of the players getting on him and all this kind of thing and being critical of him?
Well, it did. It did, you know, because he's such a terrific guy and he's doing things right. And you can see how the players would, you know, everybody gets mad at when they don't get their way or something goes, and you know, and he has a tough job. He has a real tough job in everything, discipline, you know, promotion of the league, promotion of the game, putting up with 32 crazy owners, and
Everybody with their opinion and the whole
right,
deal.
exactly.
That's got to be a tough job.
It's really just an insurmountable job, and you know, I really like Roger as a friend. I mean, he's close to me, and but I really feel badly when they get on him, and a lot of times I think unfairly. So. But I kid him all the time and say, you know, don't worry about it. Things will be all right.
Everybody has an opinion.
Right.
You have to let it go.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We have a couple minutes left. Thoughts on St. Patrick's Day? You know, when you were, you know, growing up on the north side, it was a big deal, but not like now.
Well, we were, I always say we revived St. Patrick's Day parade. The parade, it was great. We had a good time, and we would take all those kids you're talking about, and we had a station wagon, would put signs on the side, and they'd throw out footballs. Steel
Is that
footballs.
right?
Yeah, little white
little
footballs.
They'd throw them out to the fans, and it was really terrific, and we had a marvelous time.
Wow, unreal. We are out of time. Can you believe how
Oh,
fast?
my.
I know
It did go fast.
It does indeed.
Lovely show.
Are you in the parade this year? Are you going to do it?
I got to leave town.
All right.
I'm going to the West Coast.
Are you?
For the league meetings.
Some of those St. Patrick's Days you had at the White House.
Yeah,
That was
they
a
were
big-
wonderful
that was a big
parties.
time
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
I must
Last-
say they celebrated well.
When they welcomed the Taoiseach with
Right.
who's the Irish
Yeah.
Sure.
Prime Minister guy, right?
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, last year at the parade, and those that were at the parade will remember this, the vice president,
That's
Joe
right.
Yeah.
Biden,
Joe
he
Biden.
ran.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't. Well, they said to me, "You want to walk with
Yeah.
the vice president?" I said, "No." He ran the whole way.
He
down.
ran the whole. Oh my God, Patricia, Ambassador, thank you so much.
Thank you,
This
Michael.
was so wonderful. I hope you'll come
Great.
back. This was
Well,
really
delightful being on
And
the show.
likewise.
Thank
Happy
you.
St. Patty's Day. We'll see you at the Ireland Fun Dinner.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching as well. Conversation at WQED. And thanks for joining in on social media. Pat Rooney just loved that part of it. I'm Michael Bartley. Have a good night.